Congress can turn them off anytime with just a little bit of compromise.
The president's appeal came as he met with the nation's governors at the White House, amid growing indications the sequester will indeed take effect.
This town has to get past its obsession with focusing on the next election instead of the next generation. All of us are elected officials. All of us are concerned about our politics, both in our own parties as well as the other parties. But at some point, we've got to do some governing. And certainly what we can't do is keep careening from manufactured crisis to manufactured crisis.
To reinforce the point, the administration on Sunday spelled out how each state will be affected, from job losses for teachers to cuts in defense spending. After today's meeting, governors largely divided down party lines in voicing their frustration. Democrats, including Governor Dannel Malloy of Connecticut, tended to blame Congress.
They need to get out of that box that sits under the dome and understand that this has real implications in people's lives. And they should stop playing around with it and get the job done. And by the way, they should compromise to get the job done.
While Governor Bobby Jindal of Louisiana and his fellow Republicans pointed to the president.
Enough's enough. Now's the time to cut spending. It can be done without jeopardizing the economy. It can be done without jeopardizing critical services. The president needs to stop campaigning, stop trying to scare the American people, stop trying to scare states.
President Obama did acknowledge today the effects of the spending cuts may not be felt immediately. But one very noticeable effect could come at the nation's airports, where travelers may see major flight delays if airport workers are furloughed. Meanwhile, Congress returned from a week-long recess with little visible progress. Democrats backed the president's plan to forestall the sequester by coupling smaller spending cuts with increases in revenue. Republicans insisted they already agreed to some tax increases and cannot support any plan that raises taxes now. House Speaker John Boehner spoke late this afternoon.
It's time to cut spending here in Washington. Instead of using our military men and women as campaign props, if the president was serious, he'd sit down with Harry Reid and begin to address our problems. The House has acted twice. We shouldn't have to act a third time before the Senate begins to do their work.
And as the deadline ticked one day closer, the president planned to visit a Virginia shipyard tomorrow to highlight again how the cuts could harm the U.S. military and civilian defense workers.
To help us better understand the political strategy at the White House and on Capitol Hill, we turn to two journalists closely following the developments. Jonathan Weissman of the New York Times covers Congress, and Margaret Talev covers the White House for Bloomberg News. And we welcome you both to the NewsHour. Margaret, to you first. For days, the White House has been raising the specter of terrible things that are going to happen. Slowing air travel, people being laid off their jobs, furloughs, border security problems. Now that they see the Republicans aren't moving, what do they think about this approach?
They think it's a very good political approach, and they will continue to use it right up until March the 1st. The White House has been prepared for March the 1st to come and go and nothing to happen and the sequester to take effect. And a part of what they're doing is a campaign to pressure Republicans to get them to act, but the other part of what they're doing is a campaign to position themselves as the one trying to get this done and Republicans as the one standing in the way, and those efforts will continue.
So you're saying they're not surprised that the Republicans aren't caving?
They are not surprised that the Republicans are not caving, and the timeline, as we can now see it emerging, has a lot more to do with March the 27th, the deadline for the continuing resolution on the budget, than March the 1st.
And so on that point, I mean, Jonathan Weissman, the Republicans, no sign of any give between now and Friday. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That is, they are not going to give.
And they keep hearing this sort of daily, shall we say, list of crises that are going to happen from the White House. How are they responding to that?
Well, we're going to see legislation probably emerge tomorrow in the Senate from Republicans that would give the White House and the administration more latitude to administer these cuts, to mete them out. Because right now, that $85 billion would have to be cut program by program. If you're a program that is not exempted in the 2011 law, the Budget Control Act, you have to take a slice. And that's why the president can go out there and say air traffic controllers are going to be hit. Border Patrol agents are going to be hit. The Republicans would like to present legislation that says, look, the Department of Transportation doesn't have to cut air traffic controllers. They can cut some administrative parts, some other thing that's less vital to the nation's body. And that is going to divide Democrats, because you already see some Democrats who are willing to give that kind of latitude. But you also see Republicans who do not want to give that kind of latitude, because it's basically ceding authority to the White House.
And that's what I want to ask you both about. Are the parties, are they united on this? What's the White House, what are Democrats going to do if the Republicans try to do that?
Well, there are issues that sort of cleave, both sides, right? And for the Republicans, it is many of the Republican House districts that are going to be the most affected by this sequester. Nothing's going to happen for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but after a month or 2 or 3 or 6, these are shipbuilding areas or defense contract areas. These are places where the military and other programs that will be affected by the long-term effects of the sequester will take effect. So there will be Republicans who, shorter in the game than other Republicans, will say, all right, come on, let's cut a deal here. And then the flip side, on the Democratic side, there are going to be Democrats, particularly in those kind of swing districts, who are going to say, okay, enough on the tax increases. We need to give a little bit more in the spending cut. So on both sides, you do see the potential for these rifts, for these fissures. But for right now, it does appear to be a game of chicken in terms of how bad are the effects going to be and how quickly will they be felt.
Jonathan Weissman, Republican leadership, how prepared are they to deal with any division in their ranks? I mean, we already know that some Republicans are more comfortable with these cuts than others who believe they're perfectly fine, apparently.
Right. I mean, we've really seen highlighted the emergence of a majority of Republicans that are much more concerned with the fiscal picture and the size and scope of government, the spending side, than what we used to see, which was a very large group of Republicans, a majority, that were most concerned with national defense and would protect the defense budget over everything. The president expected that national defense wing was going to ultimately prevail and stop these cuts from happening, bring their party to the table. That has not happened. I don't think the Republicans in the Senate may actually begin to splinter. The House is really dug in right now. They feel like they gave it the fiscal cliff, they let taxes rise, and now, as one congressman told me, we've gotten to the high ground. The muskets are all pointing out. You want to come and take the hill? Give it a shot.
So does the White House feel the Republicans have the high ground here, Margaret?
The White House feels that the Republicans are going to want a couple of weeks to kind of make their points and protest. At this point, the White House still sees some resolution that reins in the impacts of the sequester over X period of time.
Do they have a strategy for how this is going to spool out over the next few weeks?
I don't know what the strategy is after March the 27th. If there is one, no one spelled it out to me.
And this is when the next decisions have to be made.
From the White House's perspective, not only will the sequester effects be felt more the longer it would go on, right? But because the time overlaps so closely to this continuing budget plan, for the Republicans, the specter of a government shutdown is a lot more politically painful, broad-based, right, Congress-wide, for all of them, than the impacts of a sequester.
Yeah, I think that's why the March 27th deadline is probably less of a big deal than we think. Republicans in the House want to move forward beyond that. They're going to move legislation probably next week to just get past that. Now, the Senate Democrats might dig in and say, we are not going to pass legislation to keep the government functioning past March 27th unless you do something about the sequester. But from what I understand, unless there is a huge hue and cry out there from the American people, they're going to let that pass. They're going to also pass legislation to keep the government open. I actually don't think March 27th is going to be a big deal, because I'll tell you, the first furloughs, the first layoffs that we're going to see on these sequesters really won't hit until April. So you're not going to see really angry American voters probably until past that March 27th deadline.
Well, we're all on the edge of our seats watching to see what happens, and both of you are going to be watching it with us. Thank you very much, Jonathan Weissman.